Welcome everyone to the release webinar. We'll be talking about everything new on the KNIME Community Hub, which will include running and automating workflows. All right, let's just orientate ourselves in terms of what you can expect for today. So first of all, we'll have a quick recap of what the KNIME Community Hub is. This will include a little bit of a review of kind of the development of the KNIME Community Hub up until now to really set the stage to go over to what's new in the release, and then we'll have a live demo. We also tell you how to get started with all the new functionalities, which means starting with collaborating privately in teams, then how to technically, we'll show you also how to technically schedule and run these workflows, and then look at a couple of use cases before we actually jump into the Q&A. Now, I'm Skull Haber from the education team at KNIME, and I'm also joined today by Gergely, who's going to be the main person to demo all of these things live to us. And I want to now actually invite Gergely to quickly introduce himself before we actually start with today's content. Thanks, Gergely. Over to you.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone. I'm Gergely Bányai, and I'm the product owner who's responsible for the software as a service platforms here at KNIME.
Thank you very much, Gergely. Now, we'll chat again with you in a moment, but before we get there, and we'll just drop you off the screen for a moment there, so before we bring you back, I want to quickly just go through the recap of what the KNIME Community Hub is. Now, maybe you know it already, maybe not, but let's all just get onto the same page. KNIME Community Hub is a place to, first of all, find and search for a bunch of things. This includes workflows, nodes, extension components. It's really all the stuff you need to get going with KNIME Analytics Platform. It's also a place where you can store and share your own workflows using spaces. And on top of that, and this is kind of where the KNIME Community Hub has slowly developed, it's become a place where you can collaborate with others. And this is where teams really play an important function. And today, for the first time ever, if you are a community member using KNIME Analytics Platform and not part of a big enterprise company who had these functionalities already, you, for the first time with KNIME Community Hub, can execute workflows and run data apps. So you don't need to really take my word for it. I actually want to bring Gergely back onto the stage because he's going to show us live with a demo what is new in this release. Back to you, Gergely.
Thank you so much. So let's see what Scott talked about a little bit in action. So first of all, KNIME Community Hub is a community collaboration platform where you can find blueprints for any kind of data problems you face using KNIME, and also where you can share your own solutions for these platforms with the community. You can do this in multiple ways. Most of you hopefully already know this, but if you are new here, let me show you a little bit. So first of all, there are some curated collections of how to get started with a topic in KNIME. For this example is how to build reporting, where you can go through it, and with a step-by-step rundown, you can learn a little bit about it. The other thing is if you have a specific problem you want to solve. For example, you want to connect to a database or a data source in Azure, I can just search for that and find different workflows created by the community that show you how it is done. So this is the community aspect. Scott also mentioned that KNIME Community Hub is also your own personal storage. So in addition to setting up your profile, you can store all your workflows here. For example, this is a space where I store some of my own workflows, and this is a private space. So everything I upload here is only visible for me. But there are also public spaces where you can share with the community any kind of solution you created. Like the one I searched before is shared in one of these public spaces. Let's jump to teams. So a team can collaborate together on the KNIME Community Hub. You can invite your teammates. You can work on one or multiple data projects. You can version your workflows, and as I can show you soon, you can also execute them here now. So let's see what is really new. I have a workflow I prepared for you guys, and let's see what you can do with it now. So you have two new options here on the KNIME Community Hub now. The first one is you can execute workflows on cloud resources using KNIME. These workflows can be from the simplest spreadsheet automation through any kind of data science solution you have prepared before. They all run on the Community Hub. But also, what's also a big new thing is you can now visualize your data, as I'm going to show you in a second, in data apps, which previously were only available in enterprise solutions of KNIME. So let's see a simple example about sales and orders and risk of not delivering the orders in time. You can create any kind of data app like this, where you can build in interactions. I just filtered for the low risk orders. I can filter for orders that were not delayed or delayed. You can build in any kind of KPIs or any kind of filtering you really want to. So KNIME Community Hub can run workflows, whether they are data apps with a visual interface to visualize your data, or just workflows that you want to run in the background on cloud resources. The second big thing is you created something that you need to run at a certain moment, or need to run over and over again every day, week, month, end of the quarter. You can now create schedules where KNIME Community Hub will take over the job for you and run it whenever it's needed. But I'm going to show a little bit more about that later. For now, back to Scott.
Thank you very much, Gergely. I just want to quickly summarize what's new in 3 points, and this is really powerful. First of all, you can now fully, for the first time, automate your workflows through scheduling. And as Gergely said, we'll get to that in a bit more detail in a moment. You can also just run the workflows, test them ad hoc to see if everything is working as expected. And also very cool, probably my personal highlight, because it looks very cool when it was shown as well, you can now run data apps, which is also very new and very useful. Now, Gergely, people have seen, maybe just quickly, but they've seen what's new, right, on the KNIME Community Hub. And the first step to get going with these features is to create actually a team, right? Maybe you can take us through these first steps on your way to actually get to these features. How do you start collaborating privately with teams, which sets you up to actually do all these new cool things? Back to you.
All right, thank you, Scott. So let's jump into how you get your own team on KNIME Community Hub, how you set it up, and how you start collaborating. So the first thing you need to do is go to Community Hub, hub.knime.com, click on pricing, where you will find all the feature rundown, what's in the team plan, what you get if you buy it, and also a lot of frequently asked questions we heard before to maybe help you with your decision or help you optimize what you actually need. Next, you're going to start with purchasing a team. You can set up how many users you need. It starts at 3, and you can add extra users as you need them. You can select your currency. Also, you can set up what kind of disk storage you will require. I always promote starting with the basic 30 gigabytes. This is mostly used for storing your workflows and your jobs that were previous workflow rounds. I wouldn't go higher than that as a beginning, and you can always add to it as you need later. So the next thing is you're gonna input your account details, add your credit card information, and just press continue and done. When you purchase your team, the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna invite your team members. After you invited your team members, you can set who's gonna be an admin and who's gonna be a member of the team. Admins can manage the team, manage the subscription, and have heightened privileges to access everything. Members will have access to whatever you give them to as an admin. You can set up multiple spaces after. These spaces, you can think about them as separate data projects. And for each space, you can actually select which of your team members can work on that given space. Also, after you have registered your team, you started collaborating, you're gonna use KNIME Community Hub, obviously, with the KNIME Analytics Platform. So in your KNIME Analytics Platform, you have multiple ways to interact with Community Hub. The first one is if you are working on your local space, as you usually do, and you have a workflow that you want to share already on the Community Hub to work together on, you can just select your workflow, click upload, select your team and the space you want it to be. Or you can directly work on workflows in the KNIME Community Hub. I just showed you this webinar space I prepared for today. And any workflow here, I can add it directly on Community Hub, and you will see the results right there. So as you and with your team work on the workflows together, you can always get the freshest one and work on that one. One more cool thing, I think, is as you collaborate, you will get access to a versioning system. So for this order and sales report we ran previously, I can see all the previous versions, and I can at any time go back to a previous version of this workflow, show what it was, if I made a mistake, or if we just need to look at it, how we did it a year ago. You can always restore it or just check it out. And I think that's enough for now. We're gonna go into technical details later. So back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Gergely. And if I can quickly just highlight the key takeaways from the teams and how to create them. So Community Hub now has become really a platform, the common platform where different people can work together on data projects. Not only creating them, but now you can start scheduling them, running them as data apps, as we just saw. What's really, really important from this new feature as well is that you can decide who gets access to what, which spaces, who has what type of role. And as you showed us there at the end, versioning is now also a part of this collaboration, which is really important. If you made a mistake, if something broke, if you want to go look back at something, that is key in terms of that. Thanks, Gergely. Now, probably a lot of us are wondering, we know how it looks like, the new features. We saw it in action. We know how to get started with the teams. You've shown us, but maybe, and this is probably a lot of people watching now is wondering, what does the technical side of this look like? How easy it is to actually schedule the workflow or run the data app? Maybe you can show us a little bit more about that. And with that, I'll give you back the screen. Thanks, Gergely.
Thank you so much, Scott. All right. So if we dive into a little bit more into the details, the first thing you're gonna do about execution in your team is you're gonna set up one of these, an execution context. This execution context is basically your private execution resources or your execution power in the KNIME Cloud. You will be able to select from different sizes, from 2 cores and 8 gigabytes of RAM to 8 cores and 32 gigabytes of RAM. You will always know the KNIME Analytics Platform version, and you can change this size at any time. So it's not like a one time I decided and I need to use it for a month. You can change it in the morning to a larger size, in the evening to a smaller size in extreme cases if you need it to. These execution contexts are also very important for the billing. We will talk about it a little bit later maybe, is you only pay for execution in a pay-as-you-go manner. So you only pay when the execution context is running. It can start up and shut down in 2 different manners. The first one is I can just ask it to start up, and it will. The other way is but it has an automatic start and stop option built into it. So whenever you start to run one of those workflows, that's what I did earlier, I didn't start that before, it's going to start up, or whenever one of your scheduled workflows, let's say you have a report that runs at the end of the day every day, whenever that report run needs to happen, this is going to start up automatically. And also, After 1 minute of inactivity, it will shut down automatically as well. So after you set up your execution resources, you decided that, let's say, I'm going to start with a small one and let's see how much that's enough for. You can grab one of your workflows and you can create schedules out of them to automate the run of them. This can be, again, a daily report. It can be an hourly ETL job. It can be a quarterly larger data analytics operation, whatever you need. You can give it a name. You can say, I want to execute this once. So let's say I want something to run over the weekend for me, or I want something regular. You have pretty detailed options to set up when to start execution. Let's say I want something to run every day until 2 months from now. And I also get some more advanced details. I can say which days of the week, what days of the month, which months, what time frame should it run. I can set up retries. I can say, hey, reset the workflow before every execution, please. And that also will work out for you. In addition to the advanced details, you can ask for email notifications. So if you schedule the workflow, because you might not know when it's actually finished. So maybe you want to get a notification about every successful execution, or maybe you just want to see when an execution failed. If you created one of these schedules, you will be able to always see when it ran before. So if I'm gonna go to my deployments, and I'm going to show you how you can monitor what kind of schedules you have set up and when they run. So I have this, I set it up on the 1st of March. It has run hopefully only once, yes, and it failed by design. So I can show you this. So you can see this execution has failed. I want to investigate what happened here. I can take a look at the warning messages, and I can also always download the logs from any kind of workflow run in the past. It could be any of my ad hoc runs when I just run a workflow by hand, or you can do it from any kind of schedule you want to. Also, the next thing you can do is if you want to analyze a workflow more deeply, what happened when it ran, whether it was successful or not, you just need to look into the notes a little bit more. You can always save them as a workflow. You just have to select one of your spaces and save the current state of that workflow to your space. Last but not least, as an admin, you get access to billing management, and you can always monitor your costs at all time and manage your services. And I think that's a good high-level view. So back to you, Skark.
Thank you. Okay, let me quickly recap the main points there. Because of the flexibility with execution resources, this means you can really run workflows of any complexity on the cloud. As we saw there, you can schedule them, Gergely, if I understood that correctly, to really run at any type of time interval, weeks, hours per minute, depending on the need of what you want. And we have this on-demand functions. We either run it just the workflow by itself, but also very cool, at least for me, as an interactive data app that you can see and interact with the data directly. All right, now let's just recap what we've done so far. We've shown the development of the Community Hub. We've looked at the new features. We looked at how to get started with the team, what the technical details look like to actually set up these scheduled workflows or run the data apps. But now people are also probably curious to see what kind of use cases are there. And we've actually been testing this and been developing this in the wild, so to speak, with real people, real customers. And Gergely, you've collected 3 use cases you wanted to share with us. Maybe we can start delving into those a bit deeper.
Yes. So we were really lucky with the KNIME community because many people signed up and helped us test these new features and this new product during the last 3 months before February when it went live, and in a silent phase, as we called it. So in this silent phase, we have seen a lot of use cases. I'm just going to highlight 3 of them that I think are more interesting. So one of them was we worked with this financial company, and first of all, they needed to create reports for their customers about different spreadsheet, different CSVs, different kind of data sources, and they run them. They use the automation feature to get it done without somebody have to sit there and do it by hand every time. But also, for the first time, they could actually visualize that data in a data app. So that was really cool as how they did that. The second one I was thinking about is we have seen an agriculture company, and their work is very seasonal, and they need many data calculations before and during the season, and way less after the season. So for them, that the pay-as-you-go nature of the pricing, so they only pay for it when they use it, it was really, really useful. The last one was a retail company. What they do is they publish different products through their website and sell them, and they get the inputs from many different companies in many different shapes or forms, and they were able to actually automate the whole ETL process with scheduling and automation here, running every hour basically. So I think we've seen it in different industries, different kind of use cases, but still a little bit of automation on top of KNIME, and they could solve many different problems.
Thanks, Gerge. And it just shows you, I mean, the power of automating stretches from different industries, from finance to agriculture. And then we see basic stuff like workflows being automated that has to do with spreadsheets or some predictions. I mean, it's really exciting to see what you can do with all these new use cases. But I want to now at this stage slowly go towards the question and answer section of today's session. We've collected a bunch of questions already. And for this, I actually want to invite someone else to the stage on with me. And I want to welcome Toby. Welcome, Toby. And maybe you can quickly just give us an introduction of where you fit into the whole scene here.
Yeah, I work together with Gergi on the KNIME Hub, and I'm mostly responsible for the UI and the UX part.
Thanks, Toby. So I want to actually take the first question here and direct it to you, since we have you here, and Gerge has been speaking a lot, so let's give him a break for a second.
Yeah.
So we've now seen that there's really a lot of things that you can do, obviously in KNIME, but now in the Community Hub, we've seen that people are doing basic things with spreadsheets, but also now with some prediction works, flows, machine learning. And that kind of brings us to complexity and extensions in KNIME Analytics Platform, where you can do a lot of things. Now, one of the questions that come up, when you want to execute things on the KNIME Community Hub, what kind of extensions are supported in this execution?
Right now on KNIME Community Hub, we support all the KNIME provided extensions. So that should be enough for most of your workflows. But we also keep adding more extensions. So for example, next week, we are going to add the geospatial extension and the Slack integration, and a couple of more community trusted extensions.
Nice. So that really means that you can basically, everything you're doing already in the KNIME Analytics Platform, start executing. And if not, it's definitely on the way, right? The next question I actually want to bring back Gerge here. So we briefly saw how to get started with the teams, but maybe it's a good idea to make clear here, what do you actually pay for when it comes to KNIME Community Hub, where you start paying, and what this cost breakdown kind of looks like?
So I grabbed back the screen a little bit. So the first thing you pay for is a monthly fixed cost for your team. So you can set up how many users you want. The base price is $99 per month for the team. For that, you get 3 users already and 30 gigabytes of storage. And every additional user will cost you 49 euros. Every additional 10 gigabytes of storage will cost you 2 euros. This is a monthly subscription paid in the beginning of your subscription period and paid through credit card payments. The second part is the execution resources. So for the execution resources, it's a completely pay-as-you-go method, as I said before. The different type of executors, like the small, medium, and large one, have different kind of costs per minute. It's always calculated on started minute, but with the automated startup shutdown time, we try to help you shut it down as soon as you don't need it. So you always only use it when you actually run workflows. Each credit, which you see here, costs 5 euro cents or $5. And running the small one for 1 minute is 2 credits, medium one is 4, large is 8. Just to give a little tip here, if you really want to optimize how much you spend on this, we don't charge this workflow by workflow. So you can actually use a small one or medium one, and you can still run multiple workflows at the same time if they are not that process heavy and don't need that many resources. And for the same run of 2 workflows, you will pay the same price than if you would run 1 workflow for the same time. So that's about pricing. There's a fixed monthly for the team and the seats you want, and everything execution, you only pay for how much you use it.
Thanks, Gergely. And while you still have your screen on there, maybe we can just bring it up again, just to make sure the normal functions that people were used to on KNIME Community Hub, they're all still free, right? And creating your private space is still free. The only thing that now, just to make that clear, the pricing starts with the teams, right?
Exactly. So using the hub for collaboration, for finding those solutions, to searching for a component or an extension, or looking at those collections, that's free. Even if you are using your own spaces and you are uploading workflows here and sharing things with the community, copying things over for yourself, that's all free. The only paid plan is when you start using a team for collaboration and eventually for execution.
Thanks just for that clarification, because we had a question in that direction, and I thought at this point it's good to clarify. Speaking of cost, Toby, I want to bring you back in here. Let's say people are starting to schedule their deployments, right? Schedule their workflows. And now they're worried that, I'm not looking and this thing is running forever. Now it's chasing up the cost. Is there a way to kind of limit the time a workflow runs?
Yeah, good question. We get this a lot. So in general, the workflows, as Gary mentioned, they just run as long as the execution context is running. So it will automatically shut down. But if you're still worried, we have also an option for each deployment to limit the maximum amount of execution time. So for each deployment, you can set something different and limit the execution time for that. And we also, in the future, want to add more options to make this even easier.
Exactly. So it is flexible. So people don't need to worry that, hey, this thing is going to run forever.
No.
You have all of that directly in your hand. Keeping with configurations, question to you again, Gergely. There's a question about the differences about the executor configurations. Maybe you can review that again. Which ones are there? How to switch between them, etc.
Let me bring it up. We just go back to the resources. So basically, for now, you have 3 different options to choose from. The main difference between them is execution power. The smallest one is 2 cores with 8 gigabytes of RAM. This one should be enough for running lightweight workflows or running one workflow at the same time. There's a medium one with 4 cores and 16 gigabytes of RAM for larger workflows or even starting running multiple workflows. And there's a large one with 8 cores and 32 gigabytes of RAM. These executors always use the latest KNIME Analytics Platform version, which is usually or almost always backwards compatible. So even if you use the most cutting edge, newest KNIME functions, you will be able to run those workflows here. But if you use an older version of KNIME for now and you plan to upgrade just later, you don't have to be worried. It's still going to work here. So these are the options you have when you're setting it up. About changing it, you can change it at any time. So let's say I started using execution and I'm running just one workflow just to test it out. And we start solving more and more data projects. with KNIME and Community Hub, you can at any time say, okay, from now on I need a medium one, or from now on I need a small one. You can change this. It doesn't matter where you are in your billing period or what happens. You can change it at any time, back and forth, whenever you need it.
All right, thanks, Gergely. Toby, next one's to you. So we mostly been presenting the new features on the KNIME Community Hub from someone that's probably coming as a community member working on KNIME Analytics Platform, maybe want to take the next step in now fully automating their workflows. Now we had a question from the other side, someone that's familiar with the KNIME Business Hub, and the question is kind of how does this now relate to what we've seen here with the KNIME Community Hub?
Yeah, so for people who only know the KNIME Community Hub, it might be not known that you can actually host your own KNIME Hub in your own organization. And that is the KNIME Business Hub. So for example, if you have many users or teams, that's a very good use case for installing this whole KNIME Hub in your own organization. And you get additional enterprise features to work with that. So additional deployment types and all the enterprise features you need.
So I actually want to stay with you for a moment because I'm now quite curious, and this kind of question comes from me now. So you obviously the KNIME Business Hub, as you explained it, is aimed for enterprises. But now with the release of these new features with the KNIME Community Hub, who did you and your team have in mind when you were designing these features, when you were creating it, and the people you were interacting with?
Yeah, so we had in mind small teams or companies. So who don't have an administrator to do all the administration governance needed usually for business hubs, and who have a little bit limited capacity for that. So they can just use this software as a service and just log in, buy it, and get all the updates automatically. They don't need to worry about maintenance or anything, and then just use it on the fly, on demand. And that's for them, I think, a really good offering.
And that's kind of where your team, or what you're doing and what Gergely is doing, really start to interact with your roles. Let me have a quick look at the other questions we have here. Let me see, there's some coming in now here on my document. I want to actually here, Toby, Gergely, maybe you can decide who wants to answer this one. We're speaking about constantly improving things, maybe some new things. We've now released some new features on the KNIME Community Hub. Could you perhaps give us a sneak preview? What's cooking? What can people expect? Are you allowed to? I don't know, but tell me, this would be really interesting. Maybe Toby, you can go first, yeah?
One really nice thing we are working towards is a better KNIME Analytics Platform integration in the browser. So being able to access the analytics platform easily from the hub. So in March, we're going to release the first step towards that. And that is going to be inspecting jobs in the analytics platform in the browser, right next to the hub, read only. So you can't edit it yet, but you can see what the nodes are doing. You can copy paste out nodes into your workflows. And I think this is a really good thing, which opens up a lot of possibilities in the future for us.
That sounds very exciting. I can't wait to get my hands on that as well. Gergely, anything to add to that while I'm just checking the next question here in the chat?
Just to add to it really quickly, I'm also, of course, very, very excited for the job viewer. Also, we are working on some performance improvements and new ways to log in via Google, maybe at some point even with two-factor authentication. And we are trying to add more and more features every few weeks to the hub.
Thank you. I just another question I want to bring back Toby here. It's probably just a restatement of what we already said, but the question is there, in terms of a personal plan, can you have a personal plan, not a team's plan, but just a personal plan? We basically have the same functionalities as we saw today.
Yeah, I think Gergely showed already the spaces of your own profile, so you can always have that, can sign up for that. If you create a login, you can just use that for your own. This is always for free. And for example, one use case is that you want to have a private space where you put in your workflows and data, and then you can carry this wherever you go. So you have basically one space for your own data and workflows on the road, basically.
And if you do want to take those workflows on the road and also schedule them, this can't happen in the personal space, then you need to make the switch to the teams. But maybe less users if it's a small team. Or,
Right now, for execution, you need to purchase a team.
Okay.
In the future, we might think of additional options.
Yeah. Exactly, depending on what kind of need there is from the users and the community. Okay, let me see if there's another one. Here we go. Let me have a look. I'm going to throw this one to Gerge again, because she's spoken about cost already. I think we touched on this again, but maybe just to clarify it again. So how does the where is it now? How does the end user data app interaction correspond to the cost per execution per minute? I hope that's clear. I'm just
I think so.
The end user and the cost. How does these two things relate?
Yeah, I hope so. Let me grab back the screen again, and maybe I can show it. So anytime you are running your data app, so when I was running the data app in the browser, let's just run it again. Let's say I'm just gonna run the order and sales report. Anytime I'm running the data app, or I'm running a schedule and I'm running a workflow in the background, anything like that, my execution context will start up. The context I've shown you before, I will get back to that in a second. It's starting up right now because I didn't press start. That's why we're waiting for it to start execution. It should start up in 20 seconds or so. So when it starts up, we start a billing. So that's recorded, and every minute there when it's running is when you pay for it. So you see, I'm running the data app now, just as before. And when I'm going back to my execution resources, I see that I have one job active and it is running. So this execution context is running currently, and it's running one of my jobs. I can even see like how much CPU I'm using for this. As I finish running this job, we don't need to wait for it, but in about 1 minute, the execution context will stop, so that billing will stop. So let's say I've been working on this with like 10 minutes, I was showing it in a meeting, or just visualizing something for a colleague of mine. If I did that for 10 minutes, I would pay 10 times 2 credits for that time, which would be 20 credits, which is €1, basically. So hope it's more clear. Let me know if you have follow-up questions, whoever had that.
Thanks, Gerge. Toby, anything to add to that? You're happy?
I'm really happy about this. Yeah, I'm really excited also about the future.
So I'm going to start wrapping us up here. Last question to Toby, same to Gerge. What was the name of your first team that you created to start running data apps or scheduling it? What was the first name of your team?
I have to admit, I work on test environments, so it was the first row of my keyboard.
Okay.
But for later, I have more.
Do you have that special team name saved?
Exactly.
Gerge, any cool team names that you had?
I think there was a bug when I first started testing it, and I added like team 3 times, so it was like Gerge, team, or something like that. I renamed it after.
Exactly. So again, there's a lot of creativity involved with the creation process, but there's a lot of powerful things now available with the team's subscription on KNIME Community Hub. I want to grab back the screen at this point, and I want to remind everyone, if you have not yet signed up, the KNIME Spring Summit this year is coming up. We're hosting it live in Austin, Texas, in the USA. It's from 15 to 17 April. You can join us either in person or online. And if you on the platform now go back to the reception, you'll find this link that you can see there where you can actually go and sign up already. And there you can also have a look at the programs and everything that will be on offer at the KNIME Spring Summit this year. Then just to wrap things up, If you want to stay in contact with us, there are all the channels that you can go visit. You can explore more of the information there. If you have not yet downloaded KNIME Analytics Platform, you can also do it from there. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank Toby. I want to thank Gergely, and hope everyone has a good day wherever you might be. Ciao.